Alright guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in for another week's fat loss update. So this is week 16 for me now. You know I've been the boy who cried, the wolves are coming too many times in my previous videos. Well, I can tell you in this week, the wolves have finally come because I've finally run into the very first legitimate fat loss plateau since I've embarked this fat loss journey 16 weeks ago. But as usual, before I reveal this week's fat loss progress to you guys, I would greatly appreciate if you guys can just give me a thumbs up and also maybe just consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean a great deal to me as a small YouTube fitness creator. Thank you very much for your support. Okay, now I'm done with self-promotion. Without further ado, let me first put out a table there for you guys to reference in relation to what I've done in this week. And as opposed to walk you guys through my daily activities and daily feelings to begin with, in this video, I'm going to jump directly to the end result by telling you guys that in this week, I've only managed to lose 0.1 kilos and I've done 9 hours of cardio. So obviously, this is a very disappointing result to me, given the fact I've put into so much time, energy, and effort into this week's fat loss progress. But anyway, let's reverse back to last Saturday. So last Saturday's morning weigh-in result was 75.7 kilos. This is going to be a number we're going to measure against this morning's weigh-in result. So last Saturday, I did 1 session of cardio and also I trained myself in the gym at night. This time, I also did 3 sets of walking lunges. And if you guys happen to watch my last week's fat loss update, you will know that I also did 3 sets of walking lunges in 1 training session in last week. And because of that, my glutes, they were sore for 4 days straight. So obviously, on last Saturday, I was very interested to see how many days it was going to take for my glutes to fully recover from 3 sets of walking lunges. And now let's fast forward to last Sunday. So last Sunday's morning weigh-in result indicated that there has been a 0.5 kilo overnight weight drop. So I told you guys that I predicted I should be able to lose 0.5 kilos in this week, which at some point I managed to achieve it. But obviously in the end, the weight loss did not stick out enough for me to claim that I achieved that. But reverse back to last Sunday, because this weight drop was quite significant, 0.5 kilo overnight weight drop, I needed to see whether the weight drop can keep off or rebound again in the next few days. Now, let's just pretend I didn't know the weight was going to rebound in the next few days and talk about what happened on last Sunday. So my glutes, they were actually much less sore compared to my last week's situation. And this kind of thing, I call it the conditioning effect of exercise. Meaning, if you introduce one new exercise to your training program, very likely for the very first time, the target muscle for this new exercise is going to be sore for quite a few days. In my case, it's the glutes for walking lunges. So the very first time, last week, I did 3 sets of walking lunges. My glutes, they were sore for 4 days. But this time, because it was the second time, so my glutes, they were much less sore, which is the reason why I call this kind of thing the conditioning effect of exercise, because the second time, your body is more familiar or more conditioned to the same exercise. So that's what happened on this Sunday. Now, let's fast forward to this Monday. So this Monday, I took the whole day off. No training, no weight training, and no cardio training as well. The only thing I've done in terms of fitness was that I saw my massage specialist again. And I think to this day, my most popular video I've done out of more than 100 videos on my channel is still the active recovery, the video that I talk about how important massage can mean to any bodybuilder. That video is still probably the most popular video out of so many videos I've done on my channel. I don't know what's the reason for that, but one thing for sure is that if you guys really want to get jacked, it's very, very beneficial for you to seek out one remedial massage specialist. The benefits the massage specialist can confer on you guys who want to get jacked are really beyond measure. So that's what happened on this Monday. Now, let's talk about this Tuesday, which is the turning point for the whole week. As you guys can see in the table, Tuesday morning there has been a huge overnight weight rebound, 1.2 kilos. So not surprisingly, the Sunday 0.5 kilo weight drop, it did not stick long enough. Now my weight has substantially increased, and now I'm even heavier than my last Saturday's morning weighing result. And on top of that, I also trained in the gym at night. And as you guys know, generally after the weight training session, my weight is going to have a small rebound. The body weight is going to have a small rebound the next morning, which I suspect that it occurred in this week. Because if you fast forward to the next few days morning weighing result, Thursday morning 76.4 kilos, Friday morning 76.3 kilos, my weight barely budged after I've piled up hours and hours of cardio. Now, mind you, from Wednesday to Friday, I've done 5 hours of cardio. That's a huge caloric deficit for me to create. And I can tell you that the caloric deficit I've created within 5 hours of cardio is pretty much roughly 4,500 calories, and that's a lot of energy. But yet, my weight still has not moved at all, only from 76.4 kilos to 76.3 kilos, so barely moved. That's the reason I suspect that after I finish my weight training session on this Tuesday, my weight must have further rebound on top of the morning 1.2 kilo weight rebound. So that's probably why I call this Tuesday the turning point for the whole week. Anyway, let's fast forward to Friday night. So Friday night, at this point of time, my weight was still 0.6 kilo heavier than last Saturday. And I've managed to pull off the magic on the last day out of so many weeks in the last 16 weeks. But this time, it's probably the very first week that I'm unable to pull out the magic on the last day, because I'm still like 0.6 kilos heavier than last Saturday. And I don't think overnight I can drop so much. And let's see what happened this morning. So this morning when I woke up and jumped on the scale, unfortunately, there has only been 0.7 kilo overnight weight drop. So still substantial, but not enough for me to meet the weekly prediction that I made in last week, 0.5 kilos. In the end, I've only managed to lose 0.1 kilo this week. So the wolf has finally come. So I'm no longer the boy who cried, the wolves are coming. So this is the very first week that I've encountered the very first legitimate fat loss plateau, 0.1 kilos. You can pretty much say that I did not lose any weight in this week. So yeah, that's what happened in week 16. And because this is the first time I've run into the first legitimate fat loss plateau, I need to do a brief analysis on my current situation to figure out what has caused this very first fat loss plateau. Now, in terms of cardio, I don't think I can keep piling up more hours of cardio. 9 hours, that's a lot of cardio volume. I don't think I can increase my weekly cardio from 9 hours to 15 hours to keep driving the fat loss progress. In terms of weight training does not matter so much when it comes to fat loss. The main point of weight training is to keep your muscle mass during the caloric deficit environment. And I do think that twice a week full body split style training is enough for me to keep the bulk, the majority of my muscle mass. So the reason I think that caused the plateau of my fat loss in this week is probably more to do with my diet. And in fact, I've got a confession to make to you guys. I know I said at the very beginning of this fat loss journey that I intend to cut off all the frozen chips and the hash browns and all the other delicious food, frozen food from my diet. But as a matter of fact, I'm still keeping the frozen chips and hash browns and all this delicious food on my plate at dinner. So while I was having dinner this week, pretty much every night, there was a whole plate of frozen chips and hash browns and I did a brief calculation on the calories within this plate. It turned out to be that, okay, the frozen chips and hash browns that have been eaten every night, the calories, it was around about 500 calories. And that's a lot of calories. At this point of time, 500 calories is probably enough to make fat loss much more difficult for me to keep pushing. And because of that, I made a decision that starting from next week, only except for the training days, I'm going to cut off all the frozen chips and the hash browns from my dinner starting from next week, because now it is really time to stringently manage my daily calories, and I cannot be so loose with my calories just because I can do 9 hours or 10 hours of cardio every week. So that's probably the necessary change I have to take starting from next week. And in terms of the fat loss prediction in the next week, again, I'm still going to predict that I'm going to lose 0.5 kilos. I'm fairly confident that once I cut off the frozen chips and hash browns from my plate most of the night, that I should be able to keep pushing the fat loss progress fairly smoothly in the next week. So let's put a flag here and see whether I can manage to lose 0.5 kilos or not in the next week. All right, that's all I want to talk about week 16's fat loss update. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in another week's time.